హాయ్ ఫ్రెండ్స్, వెల్కమ్ బ్యాక్ టు అవర్ ఛానల్ నవలథాస్డిary. ఎలా ఉన్నారు ఫ్రెండ్స్? బాగున్నారా? నేనైతే చాలా ముందు వీడియోలో ఐఫిల్ టవర్ చూశారు కదా, ఇప్పుడు దాని నెక్స్ట్ కంటిన్యూషన్. ప్యారిస్ మొత్తం ఎలా ఉందో బస్లో చూపించారు, అది ఇప్పుడు మీకు చూపిస్తా. నచ్చితే లైక్ చేయండి, షేర్ చేయండి, కామెంట్ చేయండి, సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేసుకోవడం అస్సలు మర్చిపోవద్దు. ఎవరైనా చూడని వాళ్ళు ఉంటే ముందు వ్లాగ్ కూడా చూడండి, మీకు అర్థమవుద్ది. లెట్స్ స్టార్ట్ ద వీడియో.
Fleur. So you see the aquarium on the right hand side with a lot of exotical fishes and sharks, and you see the architecture of the Palace of Chaillot in concrete from 1937. So on the right bank where we have the river Seine that we will cross, and the bridge Iéna. We have 36 bridges in Paris altogether, and Paris is not too big. You know, you can cross Paris from the north to south in 3 hours walking. So the population of France is actually 67 million of inhabitants, and Paris has only 2.5 million. We are here in the region of the island of France, which is not an island, but the capital, Paris, is really situated in the heart of the hexagon. We have 6 sides in our country, and with the seas and oceans. The Northern Sea, the English Channel, the Atlantic Ocean, and the Mediterranean Sea at the south. So on the left hand side you see we have a wonderful view on the tower, divided into 3 floors. The first floor is situated 58 meters of the bottom, of the names of the engineers and scientists that Eiffel wanted to put for the posterity. And where the windows are, it's actually a restaurant. So the second floor is for the exchange of the elevators, because it's only 2 elevators working. One is only for security, and the other pillar is for the steps. And so at the first floor you can exchange the elevator to go to the second floor at the end, the third floor at the top. The weight is 7,000 tons of iron, and it was built into 2 years for the World Exhibition 1889. And Gustav Eiffel, the engineer, was coming from a German family, Bönigshausen, from the Rhine region. So we are now on the left bank, depicted as an intellectual bank. You will see later on, it's here that we have all our universities, high schools, and also all these cultural and ministers of our French government. You know that tomorrow we have the elections of the presidential. Tomorrow and in 15 days, because in between we have Easter. In concrete on your right hand side, it's the Australian embassy. That's why here the square is dedicated to Sydney, the Australian city. So here we are in the 15th district, where we have also the new mall of Beaugrenelle. And always this where we had the Roman occupation for 500 years, when Paris was called Lutetia. Perhaps you heard about Obelisk and Asterix, and Julius Caesar and the Romans. So for 500 years we had the Roman time. Then we had from 500 to 1500 the Middle Ages. And then we had the 16th century Renaissance time, 17 the big century of Louis XIV, the Sun King, and then the modern time with the contemporary 19th century and 20 also modern. On the right hand side you have here what we call the Swiss village, with 150 kiosks, some very small gallery of art and antique style. And here we have, because in the 60s after the war, the Swiss people, they were coming to sell cheese and chocolate and then watches, and they stay here and they sell antiques. On the left hand side, this is actually the back side of the military academy. It's a building of the 18th century commissioned by the great grandson of the Sun King, called Louis XV. And it's here that Napoleon was used to study and became a caporal at the age of 20. Left, on your right hand side you have also the semicircular 1970 building of the UNESCO, the United Nations of Education and Sciences for the World, with a sphere inside of the courtyard and the mobiles of 1970 Alexander Calder, the American sculptor. And it is actually also here that we have a lot of conferences, and especially now with the war in Ukraine. And on the left, you see the beautiful facade, which is the symbol of the defense. It's always in function here with the offices of the military administration. You see the trucks called chevaux, it's horses. They have always horses here in the stables. At the military academy, 18th century. And here, on the right-hand side, it's also the new Ministry of the Health. On the right-hand side, as I told you, on the right bank, on the left bank, we have a lot of ministries. And in front of us, as Paris is a city of perspectives, we can see many things and everything together. That's why it was the choice of Haussmann in the second part of the 19th century. So you can now enjoy the dome of the Invalides. The Invalides at the 17th century was the hospital of Louis XIV, our son king, that was born in 1638 and died at the age of 77 in Versailles, but he was also reigning here in Paris. And as he was in war with 4 countries, Spain, Prussia, Italy and Holland, he had a lot of wars and a lot of soldiers that they were injured. And that's why he let it build the hospital. Don't forget to see all these beautiful balconies. You see the design that you have from the first floor to the 5th, completely different. And in between with the balustrade that come close to the window. We have a special book about the designs of the balconies in wrought iron. So you see the cupola, French people, they asked the permission to the British to have the body back because Napoleon died at the age of 52 on the island Santa Helena after having losing the battle in Waterloo. We have a big victory in Austerlitz, but we have a big defeat in Waterloo. Here and then just... So now on the left-hand side, it's now the Museum of the Wars, the Museum of the Order of the Liberation. So we have a lot of history of the wars inside. And on the other side, it's always, and there's also with 2L of Louis XIV to remember, and with the tympanon and the column with the Corinthian capitals, and at the top, on the roof, with the gold leaf trophies and the lantern, like exactly in Rome. On your right-hand side, you can see the Tower of Montparnasse. It's the second highest building in the 14th district. Actually, it was the idea of the President Pompidou in 1970, but just for offices. At the top, you have a terrace. You can also go there with a lift, but it's not free. You have to pay, for sure, like everything. In Paris, you have to pay. So this is in front of us on the left-hand side, the hospital for the French veterans. And we are coming to the Boulevard des Invalides. We are here in the 7th district, Avenue de Tauville, and coming to the Boulevard des Invalides. So concerning our history, look, you have a beautiful picture of Winston Churchill with a cigar. Museum of the War on the left-hand side. So concerning our history, as I told you, with the 3 steps, the Roman time, then the Middle Ages and Renaissance and modern style, we have 5 dynasties, 5 families of the kings of France. We begin after the Roman time with the Merovingians, from the 5th to the 8th century. From the 8th century to the 11th, the Carolingians with Charlemagne, that created the school. Then we have from the 11th to the 14th, 15th, the Valois family, the Capetians, the family. And the facade is actually in restoration. You see Napoleon, you see Louis XIV, Charles de Gaulle, and the soldiers of our colonies over there. Museum of the Wars, and the gate, dedicated to the Bourbon family and to Louis XIV with the crown of the kingdom and the 3 fleurs-de-lis, symbol of the Bourbon family. So that's the main facade. And Second Republic between the Louis XVIII and Charles X, and 1873 the Third Republic, and the 20th century First World War, Fourth Republic, Second World War, and we are always now in the Fifth Republic. Maybe with a new president we will have the sixth one. So look at this beautiful bridge with the crystal lamps coming from St. Petersburg. It was a present from the Tsar here to France. And the four statues symbolizing the Ministry of the Foreign Affairs, where we had the COP21 of the ecology in 2015 with Obama, and was coming here, and the European countries on the ecology and weather changes. It's also a French government building here, official. Ministry of the Foreign Affairs. Quai d'Orsay. So, on the left over there, after the bridge Concorde, one of the 36 bridges in the middle of the square. It's a royal square called the Concorde Square that we will see later on, because it's there also France since 1955, built by the same architect that rebuilt Le Havre at the English Channel. His name is Auguste Academy, that we will see. So concerning the district, we begin, if you have a map, in the middle of Paris, on the right bank, with the number 1, close to Châtelet-Les Halles. Then each district has a highlight, a monument that on the left-hand side, this is actually the backside of the military academy. It's a building of the 18th century commissioned by the great-grandson of the century. Left, on your right-hand side, you have also the semicircular 1970 building of the UNESCO, the United Nations of Education and Sciences for the World, with the middle of the corpse, the Eiffel Tower with the flag, the French flag, and you just ask them to take a picture if they want. And the building is divided into two parts. On the left-hand side, the artillery, and on the right-hand side, the cavalry. And you see the gate with at the top the end of the arrow, which is the symbol of the defense. It's always in function here with the offices of the military administration. You see the trucks called chevaux, it's horses. They have always horses here in the stables. At the military academy, 18th of the Order of the Liberation. So we have a lot of history of the wars inside. And on the other side, it's always an hospital for the French veterans and soldiers that they are also now always in Afghanistan, Iraq, or the Mali. So here, you can have a wonderful view. You see, like the Vatican, it's a square with two floors. You have the two statues of Saint Louis and Charlemagne. The big door with the golden letters also with 2L of Louis, Louis XIV, to remember, and with a tympanum and the column with the Corinthian capitals, and at the top, on green, you know, the facade is actually in restoration. You see Napoleon, you see Louis XIV, Charles de Gaulle, and the four symbols, you see with the trumpet of the glory on the left-hand side, the glory, the triumph, the strength, and the peace of Russia at that time. Unfortunately, now it's not more the case. Of the prime ministers during the different periods, D'Aguesseau, Sully, Colbert, and Michel L'Hôpital. And now, on the left bank, we are entering the Boulevard Saint-Germain, 3 kilometers long, one way, from here until the end, the Institute of the Arabic World. Have a look at the big oak tree doors on the left-hand side, number 288. And you will see the architecture changing between the limestone building of the 19th century, and then as we had during the Middle Ages, the half-timbered houses change with the coast of the Seine. On the right-hand side, you see with the balustrades. Notice also the name of the architect. And you see approaching on the left-hand side, for example, these smaller and tiny houses that they were with wooden beams and half-timbered, covered after with from the 11th century, Gothic from the 12th and 13th century. And you see here on the corner, we are at the 60th Street, Boulevard Saint-Germain now. We left the 7. And at the portal, you have a statue of Jesus Christ. It's a Catholic church, one of the oldest one of Saint-Germain-des-Prés. On your right, you see the perspective to the Tower Montparnasse, 250 meters high. So we are approaching the 60th Street with the Odeon. Haussmann kept this kind of also architecture to show our history during the time. And the beautiful on the right-hand side, Haussmannian buildings. So on the 60th Street here on the right-hand side at the back, we have the second part of our parliament, the Senate, inside of the Luxembourg Garden. And here, the next street on the right, you will see the National Theatre, the Odeon. The Odeon was a round theatre of the Romans, and under this, we had actually the ruins of the round theatres of the Romans here on the right-hand side, at the back. On the square Odeon, here on the right, we have a statue of Danton, one of our philosophers and also revolutionaries, with Robespierre, Danton, Marat. And on the right-hand side, the two big buildings here all around, it's the University René Descartes for also medicines, the different kind of specializations that you can also do here. Still a faculty de médecine. Always here in the faculty of the law, it's the city hall of the 5th district. Every district has its own city hall. We have a statue of Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the philosopher from Geneva. She actually kept Jewish people in her home in the castle in the south of France. She actually was buried here since November, the last one that came. Otherwise, we have Pierre and Marie Curie, Louis Braille from the Braille alphabet. And in front of us, with the courtyard, it's actually the second eye. On the left-hand side, you have the library, Sainte Geneviève. And here on the right-hand side, also with the faculty of the law, it's the city hall of the 5th district. Every district has its own city hall. Careful, yeah. Here we have a statue of Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the philosopher from Geneva in Switzerland, 18th century. Voltaire, Rousseau is buried underneath. The last one, last November, was Josephine Baker. The President Macron as a symbol of the French resistance because the body of Sainte Geneviève. Now on the right-hand side, you will see the very small street. It's also the testimony of our street of the Middle Ages. In front of us on the left, it's a polytechnic school. And here we are actually a street Clovis in the Latin Quarter, 5th district, where we had the Romans living. And it's Clovis, the first king of France from the Merovingians at 498 in the 5th century. So have a look on the right hand side. It's here also that was living inside of that street. Ernest Hemingway was living here 4 years in Paris. It's actually the arena of Lutetia. It's the arena rediscovered at the 19th century from the second century after Christ. And here we have a beautiful Hôtel Particulier as from the 17th, 18th century also, private mansion. As I told you, is in the Latin Quarter. The Tower of 19 also in the 70s of Pompidou for the university. And after the university, at the corner on the right hand side, we have the Institute of the Arabic World. It's a building from 1990, commissioned by François Mitterrand and built by the architect Jean Nouvel from also the Museum of the Quai Branly. And links. So here, modern in glass and concrete. And if you go straight up, you will see a column. It's actually the Bastille Square. We cannot go anymore with the bus there, because you know with the traffic everything is restricted. But if you see the column in bronze with on the 5th century, and on the left hand side one of the greatest restaurants from the 16th century called La Tour d'Argent, famous restaurant during the war where the Nazis were coming to eat, and after the war the stars of the show business of America, like Frank Sinatra, Jane Kelly, all these people, Mickey Rooney, were coming here. The tower, 90 meters tall, the facade is always clean, but all the nave and the choir, and the Notre Dame began in 1163, and it took 130 years to finish it, dedicated to the Gothic art. On the left, we have a small Romanesque church, Saint-Julien. We have 150 churches in Paris. Saint-Julien-le-Pauvre, you see, very tiny church. And yet here that we have also the bookstore Shakespeare and Company. On your right-hand side, with a statue of Charlemagne on a horse, we have at the back the first. And on the left, be careful, look at the very narrow streets on the left. The street of the cat that fish, that was actually the names of the Middle Ages small streets. Look at the bouquinist boxes. And next corner on the left you will see the statue of Saint Michael, because we are crossing the Boulevard Saint Michael, which is the patron saint of the police and military here on the left with the fontaine. And in the middle of the city island, on your right we have also clean facade, the jeweler of St. Louis. When St. Louis bought the crown of thorns of Jesus Christ, he actually let it be the Saint Chapel with a steeple. And that was previously the Justice Palace, the court, that moved now. Now the building is empty. And coming to the next bridge, the Pont Neuf, the new bridge, which is the oldest bridge in Paris. You will see also in the middle a statue of Henry IV. And it's the first bridge in stones built at the 17th century by the King, Henry IV. On the left-hand side, you have the museum of the 14th and the 17th century. All our academies, painting, sculpture, arts, French language. Here we are actually changing the dictionary every year. So the Louvre comes from the word loup in French. It's a wolf, because at the 6th century we had a lot of wolves. And it became after, at the 11th century, the second king's residence after La Conciergerie, after this building on the city island. So we don't have any more island there, it's finished, so we are on the left bank. And the diverse kings were actually putting their mark inside of the architecture of the Louvre, in the middle of the Château Léal, called the Museum Pompidou. So look on the right hand side of the city island with the two towers of Notre Dame, the steeple of the Sainte-Chapelle, the cupola of the French Academy, and here you see in front of us the part of Napoleon III in 1850 that finished actually the courtyard of the Louvre Museum. And we are going straight on the left. That's the symbol of the French gardens from André Le Nôtre, the landscaping gardener of Louis XIV in Versailles. It's him that actually organized the design of the gardens here on the left, from the Tuileries, from the Tuileries Palace that burned. So have a look quickly on the right hand side. You will probably see the glass pyramid of Io Ming Pei in the middle of the courtyard on your right of the Louvre. So here we are coming to the parking place here. So you see on the right the glass pyramid in the middle of the courtyard. They are actually platane trees, plane trees. And coming to Rue de Rivoli, in actually honor of Napoleon I, because he actually won in Italy. When he was coming back, he was actually born in Corsica in 1769 and died at the age of 52 on the island Santa Elena in 1815. So we are crossing the Rue de Rivoli. It's also the perspective here, 3 kilometers long east from the Bastille Square until the Concorde Square, that we have in the middle the statue of Joan of Arc. It's actually the symbol here of the square of the pyramid. On the right hand side, the Hotel Regina 5-star, completely restored, was actually the favorite hotel of the Gestapo during the war, and we had a lot of movies shot in black and white. So you see the architecture of the Italian Riviera with the arcades for the ladies to shop when it's raining and when it's sunny. In 1850, it took 23 years to finish it. I suppose that you heard about the Phantom of the Opera. A lot of movies were shot also there. And the facade is a wonderful, typical neoclassical facade. Means a new classic facade from the Greek and Latin time. You see on the right hand side the facade, you have always to put your eyes up. You see exactly at the 5th floor we have the columns in the middle with the gardens at the top, the roof gardens. The main building, we have the, it's no more the entrance now, but we have the statues at the 1st floor with the marble columns of the busts of the most famous composers and musicians of the world. In the middle, we have the famous one, Wolfgang, genius, Amadeus, Mozart. So here, Avenue de l'Opéra was actually here that Haussmann began the big store of Apple. Yeah, Bill Gates. And in front of us, it's here on the right bank that we have the most popular big mall, the Galerie Lafayette and Printemps. Le Printemps you see in front of us with the golden cupola, it's one of the very also huge store. On the right hand side we have Galerie Lafayette for women, in front of it where we see for men, and on the left for home. So you see Galerie Lafayette for women are here, for designers. Here links. That. Yeah. Okay. That for men, and here for home. Uniqlo, the Japanese brand. Here we are at the back of the Opera House, the Palais Garnier. Here we have the Swiss tourism with the Chocolat Lindt on the right hand side. And it's here at the corner on the left that we have the entrance of the Opera House and the bust of Garnier with the map of the opera. And it was chosen because of this special ramp that side, famous hotel of Coco Chanel, 5-star hotel, completely restored after 1 year that they closed. They reopened, closed by the minister with the columns and Corinthian capitals. And the always the symbol of the sun, because it's the only star that without sun we cannot live. The hotel particularly, you see when they open the door, you can see the courtyard inside. So you see they have a restaurant, cafe, seafood. Here on the left hand side, and all the and the French one too. International, always working. So we are on the Boulevard de la Madeleine because we are approaching the church of the. During the revolution, the people were not Christians, so they actually beheaded the statues that you can see also inside or outside of the church. At the Printemps at the back. Okay, here so we have also very expensive store that here the truffles, the foie gras, the caviar. This is St. Louis. From Egypt to France in 1830. On each corner we have two fountains symbolizing one, all the seas and ocean around France, so Northern Sea, English Channel, Atlantic Ocean and Mediterranean Sea. And the other one, first president of the Fifth Republic from 1958 to 68. And on the other side, the president of the Council of the First World War, Georges Clemenceau. So I was telling you, after Henry IV at the beginning of the 17th century, Louis III, Museum of the Fine Arts. You see the Petit Palais with exhibitions of Boldini. And here with fashion shows and different exhibitions too. That we had before from 1900s. The big welfare World Exhibition. On the left, you see also a memory of the Second World War. The big palace, also in restoration, le Grand Palais.
బస్సు ఇక్కడ దింపారు. మళ్ళీ నైట్ ఇక్కడ వచ్చి బస్సు ఎక్కాలి. ఈలోపు మ్యూజియం అవి చూసుకొని రావాలి. నెక్స్ట్ వీడియోలో చూపిస్తా. థ్యాంక్ యూ ఫర్ వాచింగ్ దిస్ వీడియో. బాయ్.